Welcome to The Explainer. What used to be the stuff of science fiction is now kicking off one of the biggest tech races of our lifetime. We're talking about humanoid robots, and today we are digging into the sudden, white-hot gold rush to build them.
And this is exactly why it's a gold rush. By 2030, the market for these robots is projected to be worth somewhere between $150 and $250 billion. I mean, that's up from just a few billion today. This isn't some slow burn. It's a financial big bang, and it is happening right now.
So, you have to ask yourself, how did this happen? How did humanoid robots leap from being movie props and kind of clunky lab experiments to a global, multi-billion-dollar race in just a few short years? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Okay, let's dive in. This boom is really being fueled by a perfect storm of three things: massive investment, absolutely staggering leaps in technology, and a huge demand for automation. The industry isn't just growing, it's at what our sources are calling a critical inflection point.
If you want a single number to capture the pure frenzy of this moment, here it is: 15x. That is how much the valuation of one US startup, Figure AI, exploded in just 12 months. It landed them at a valuation of nearly $40 billion. This isn't just investment. It's a massive, high-speed bet that the future is right now.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. The days of humanoid robots being stuck in university labs, they're over. We are smack in the middle of a pivot to full-scale commercialization, and the race is on to see who can get them into factories, warehouses, and maybe eventually our homes.
So why is all this cash pouring in right now? Well, it boils down to a few key things. You've got tech titans like Microsoft and OpenAI who aren't just writing checks, they're making deep strategic plays. They're integrating their AI platforms right into the robots' brains. And it goes beyond that. Investors are buying up stakes in the entire supply chain, from the chips to the sensors, creating these super concentrated power hubs in places like Silicon Valley and China's biggest cities. Now, this gold rush has pretty quickly consolidated around two main power centers. So let's take a look at the titans of tomorrow, because this story is really becoming a tale of two giants, the United States and China. The market has already formed what experts are calling a duopoly. Now, in simple terms, that just means that, for right now, the US and China are the undisputed leaders. They're dominating the tech and the market, and it's setting up a clear two-horse race for the future of robotics. Let's break down the two main players here. So, in the US corner, you've got Figure AI. It was founded in 2022, and it's backed by some of America's biggest tech names. Their strategy is absolutely laser-focused on industry, and they've already got a major deal in place with BMW. Then, in China's corner, there's Agibot. Founded a year later, it's backed by Chinese giants like Tencent and BYD, and they're taking a much broader approach, aiming for a general-purpose robot right from the get-go. But the difference in financial firepower, it's just staggering. Figure AI's valuation is nearly 8 times higher than its main Chinese rival, Agibot. And this really highlights the two very different ecosystems they're in. One is driven by massive, speculative, private venture capital, and the other is fueled by a more strategic mix of corporate and state-backed funding.
But you know, this is so much more than a simple business rivalry. It is escalating into a global tech showdown, a battle for control over the critical parts, the supply chains, and the actual standards that are going to define this industry for decades. The contrast in national strategy could not be more stark. The U.S. approach is very industry-driven, with the government mostly playing catch-up. China, on the other hand, is taking a proactive, top-down approach. They've declared robotics a national priority, they've set up massive government funds, and as a result, they now hold 2/3 of all active robot patents in the world. And this reveals one of the biggest vulnerabilities in the supply chain. You see, rare earth materials are absolutely essential for high-performance robot motors, and China doesn't just mine them. It controls 90% of the global refining process. That gives Beijing a really powerful strategic lever that can affect the entire industry.
And the fallout from this showdown is already happening. We're seeing this intensified tech competition that's forcing companies to completely restructure their supply chains. Tech standards are literally splitting into separate American and Chinese ecosystems, and both sides are now using things like chip export controls as strategic weapons in what's really becoming a new tech Cold War.
So knowing all that, where does this race go from here? Let's look at the roadmap for the next 5 years. Our sources lay out a surprisingly clear 3-phase forecast for how this whole robot revolution is going to unfold.
All right, here's the big picture. Between now and 2026, we're in what's called the technology breakthrough phase, where costs are falling and robots start deploying at scale. Then, up to 2028, we hit commercial acceleration. That's when the market really explodes, as robots enter new fields like healthcare. And finally, by 2030, we could actually reach scale popularization, where consumer robots become a reality and just a few giant companies dominate the whole space. Let's just zoom in on phase 1 for a second, because we are living in it right now. The key here is a major breakthrough in embodied intelligence. That's the AI that lets a robot physically understand and interact with the world around it. As that gets better, costs are predicted to fall another 30 to 50%, making large-scale deployment in factories not just possible, but actually profitable. This is the foundation being laid for everything that's to come. One of the biggest shifts to watch for is in the business model. As we get into that commercial acceleration phase, experts are predicting that companies will move from just selling you a robot to selling robot as a service. Think of it kind of like a subscription. Instead of a massive upfront cost, a factory could just pay a monthly fee for a fleet of robots, and that would include all the maintenance and software updates. And really, it's the price that makes that final phase, scale popularization, even possible. An industrial robot today can cost over $100,000. By 2030, the projected cost for a consumer robot could be in the same ballpark as a new car. That is the insane price drop that takes these robots from the factory floor and actually puts them into our daily lives. Ultimately, the vision that's driving this entire revolution, as our sources conclude, it isn't about replacement, but collaboration. This incredible progress is turning science fiction into reality right before our eyes, ushering in a completely new era of how we work and how we live. Which brings us to the final question. We've seen the money, the tech, the geopolitical chess match, all of it moving at just incredible speed. The robots are coming. There is no doubt about that. The real question is, are we ready for the world they and we are going to build together?